America, we got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. You know, maybe this is yet one more reason why I'd be a lousy candidate if I ever decided to run again. I just got an email from a really smart Democratic Party consultant talking about James Comey, the indictment, Trump's indictment yesterday of James Comey. And this email from this Democratic consultant says, hey, regarding James Comey, most Americans are far too busy worrying about the cost of living to notice this shocking abuse of power. So this consultant goes on, just ignore it. Ignore it. Or if you're going to talk about what Trump is doing to his political enemies, just talk about how every moment that Trump and the FBI and the Attorney General spend on going after Trump's enemies is all time that they can't spend on keeping you safe. If you're going to talk about Comey, just talk about that. But it's best just to ignore the whole James Comey thing. Man, if you're a candidate for office and you can't stand in front of the American people and explain to the American people why what Donald Trump did yesterday to James Comey and what he is trying to do to all of his political opponents is a direct threat to the rule of law in this country, if you can't make that case and get the American people to understand that they ought to care about this more than the price of shit, then go home. Then why even be a candidate, right? This is the road we've been down in this age of Trump. I mean, 5 years ago, Donald Trump tries to overthrow an American election. And so the American people don't care about that because they're too pissed off about the price of eggs. So if you're running for office, don't you dare talk about the very first and only president in American history who lost an election, tried to overthrow that election. Don't talk about that because the American people are too damn busy to care about that. Come on, talk about the price of eggs. So then this is how we die. This is how democracies die. This is how the rule of law dies, because people are just too busy, too worried about their own lives, too worried about how expensive shit is, too busy to think about the rule of law, democracy. A president abusing his powers, a president directly attacking the integrity and the independence of the Justice Department, a president taking over the Justice Department. Man, folks out there, Joe, this Democratic consultant advising me and other candidates, they're more concerned about their day-to-day lives, how their job is, how much money they're making, how expensive groceries are. Man, Joe, you're a candidate. You can't say shit like what Trump is doing. This is how the rule of law dies. Man, they can't think about that kind of thing. two thoughts. If that's where we are as a people, that the American people are too busy and too selfish to care about preserving democracy, then the American people don't deserve to have a democracy or the rule of law. And again, if candidates can't make that case that democracy, preserving democracy and the rule of law is more important than the price of groceries, if a candidate doesn't have the balls, the courage, the decency to say that, then again, we deserve to lose it. We do. Now, let me start here with this whole James Comey thing. Let me make really clear. Let me tell you a story before I get down into the details of the indictment yesterday of James Comey. And I don't give a flying fuck what you think about James Comey. I don't like James Comey. Doesn't matter what you think about James Comey. None of that matters. All that matters is the President of the United States has been publicly demanding and directing the Justice Department to go after his political opponents. That's all that matters. Doesn't matter what you think about James Comey. But let me tell you a story that I think will explain where we are. And the whole point of the story is, if the American people continue to say that they don't care about any corrupt, lawless thing that Donald Trump does, any abuse of power, they don't care that he lies, they don't care that he is right now attacking our elections in preparation to really fuck with our 2026 elections. If the American people don't care about stuff like that, or let me rephrase that, all of this will continue if the American people don't care. If the American people continue not to care about their democracy, then their democracy is gone. It's on us. You can blame Trump because this is the behavior of a fascist using the government to go after his political opponents. That is fascism. You can blame Trump. You can blame the fascist enablers, all the Republicans who bowed down and let him do what he did. And after that indictment of James Comey yesterday, not one Republican said a damn thing. Blame the enablers. Blame all the corporations, the media companies, the colleges and universities that have all got down on their knees to enable the fascist to do what he does. But ultimately, the blame is on us, the American people. We either care about this shit or we don't. A story. And bear with me. I apologize if you've heard this story before. Once upon a time, there was an American president who lost an election. And for the first time in American history, that American president who lost an election refused to accept the result. Had never happened before. Refused to publicly concede. Refused to say he lost. Refused to participate in that beautiful American thing called the peaceful transfer of power. Never acknowledged he lost. Never conceded. And then lied about the election, saying that he won and it was stolen from him. This had never, ever, ever happened before in American history. Oh my God, in the beautiful history of this country, people run for president, people run for public office, people work their asses off, and people support these candidates, and you do your best, you do your damnedest to win. But the beauty of, the secret of our democracy, our representative democracy, our elections process is that we all accept We all accept the will of the people. We all accept what the people say when the people vote. We all accept the election result. But this American president, for the first time in American history, said, fuck the American people. Fuck the will of the people. I will not accept the result. And then this American president, who lost an election, refused to accept the result, he then set out to try to overthrow that election result. This all happened in America not that long ago. He incited an attack on our Capitol. Now, naturally, the story goes, because this had never happened before, a president losing, not accepting the results, and then trying to overthrow the election, naturally, the Justice Department, right, responsible to the American people and the Constitution and the law, the Attorney General, our Justice Department investigated. And our Justice Department found that that president who lost an election actually probably committed crimes trying to overthrow the election. In fact, he was charged. That president was charged, indicted with committing crimes trying to overthrow an American election. Incredible stuff. But alas, the American people didn't care. The American people were too busy to care. The American people, I guess, were too preoccupied with their own lives to care. Eggs were too expensive. Groceries were too expensive. Whatever, the American people decided, we don't care that an American president lost an election, refused to concede, and tried to overthrow the election, and has been charged with committing crimes trying to overthrow the election. And oh, by the way, so many of the American people actually believed his lies that the election was stolen. So you wrap all of that up together, he got elected again. He became president again because the American people were just too busy to care. And when he ran again for president, he vowed revenge. He vowed retribution. He said he was going to go after everybody who had the nerve to investigate him for trying to overthrow an American election. He said that repeatedly in his campaign for re-election. And yet he won. And since he won, every day, week, and month since he won, he has publicly made good on his threat to go after his political opponents. In fact, he's publicly demanded and directed that Justice Department. Remember that very independent Justice Department, he's taken it over. He's put his people in charge of the Justice Department, his lawyers in charge of the Justice Department. This president, reelected again, has made your Justice Department and my Justice Department his own personal law firm, and he's forcing them to, in fact, go after his political enemies who had the nerve to investigate him for trying to overthrow an American election. And he's doing that right now. But alas, again, the American people just seem too busy to care. Sadly. The end. That's the end of my story. I mean, before you get into the specifics of Comey, and there'll be somebody else, John Bolton will probably be indicted in 2 weeks, and then there'll be another one of Trump's political opponents, and on and on and on. Before we get into any of that, just understand how and why we're here. For the first time in American history, in 2020, an American president lost an election and said, I will not accept the will of the people. I don't accept the result. Now that alone should have been enough to banish that president from America and American history forever. That alone, he was impeached. And by the way, 7 Republicans in the Senate voted to convict him. But that alone, you refuse, you give the middle finger to the American people, refuse to accept the results of the election. I mean, with a citizenry that cared, with a citizenry that had their priorities straight, that's a fucking hell of a lot more important than how much eggs cost. Simply not accepting an election loss should have been enough to never ever hear from Donald Trump again. In fact, a people who put their country first and their democracy first above their own partisan interest, man, 99% of the American people, when Trump refused to accept the results of his loss, would have said, get lost, we're done with you. Then January 6th happened because of him. Donald Trump made January 6th happen. Again, that right there, the American people, if we had our priorities straight, if we were doing our jobs as Americans, right, staying informed, staying engaged, putting our democracy first above our own selfish interest, January 6th happens. Trump led to January 6th. Again, 99% of the American people would have said, get lost, get out of here, we're done with you. And then he was charged with crimes for trying to overthrow an American election. An American election, not some banana republic, not some Central American or African country. America, a president who lost, committed crimes trying to overthrow an election here. Again, the American people were given an opportunity to show that they had their shit straight, they had their priorities straight. And that's a really big deal. And that's more important than the price of eggs. And so goodbye, Donald Trump. We're done with you. None of that happened. None of that. Donald Trump should have been banished from the public square. Instead, he continued as the leader of one of our 2 major political parties. He ran again for president and won the Republican Party primary overwhelmingly. It wasn't even close. And then he actually became president again. All of that is unprecedented. You lose an election, you don't accept the result. You try to overthrow the election. You incite an insurrection. You commit crimes trying to overthrow an election. All of that unprecedented. What Trump is doing right now is unprecedented. And my worry is the American people again won't care. The American people again won't care. Trump ran again, vowing revenge. I'm going to go after my political opponents. And he's doing that. And it's not normal. Again, this is something that should never, ever happen in America. Never, ever, ever happen in America. A candidate for president losing an election, not accepting the result, that should never happen. A candidate losing an election for president, trying to overthrow the election, that should never happen. A president of the United States taking over the Justice Department and using the Justice Department to publicly go after and prosecute his political opponents. What's happening right now should never, ever, ever happen in America. It's not normal. It's not okay. And yet my fear is, and I talked about this yesterday, with the normalization of Trump, the American people don't understand that what's happening right now is not normal. Like Trump forces the Justice Department to indict James Comey. Before you even get into what James Comey might have done, why he was indicted, just that sentence alone should never be heard in America. But I don't think most Americans understand that anymore. The President of the United States publicly forcing, demanding, directing the Justice Department to prosecute his political opponents. That does not happen here. It has not happened before. It's happening right now. And it will continue. The Justice Department does not answer to the President of the United States. The Justice Department does not work for the President of the United States. The Justice Department is independent. It is your and my law enforcement agency. It answers to the Constitution. It answers to the law. It answers to the American people. The Justice Department does not indict people because the President of the United States demands that they do. The Justice Department indicts people if the law says they should. And there's always been this wall there that Trump has just blown through. I mean, publicly, he's been repeatedly, publicly demanding the Attorney General get her butt moving and indict my political opponents. That alone is impeachable. Again, in a country with a people who cared, who understood, who did their jobs to be informed, engaged defenders of this democracy and the rule of law, though that kind of a people would understand this should never, ever happen here, and Trump would be impeached right now. But again, crazy me, we don't have a Congress right now who would impeach Donald Trump. And don't give me the tit for tat. Don't give me Biden's Justice Department did this, not even close. My God, Trump and a lot of his allies were indicted, right, for trying to overthrow the American election and a number of other things. And by the way, they were all overwhelmingly convicted by a jury at trial. So this thing with Comey is just utter bullshit. This thing with Comey, people at the Justice Department don't even believe there's something there. The U.S. attorney that was in charge of looking into this said there's nothing there. What did Trump do? Fired that U.S. attorney and it put in place a political loyalist who's never tried a case in her life. With Trump and every one of his allies who were indicted in the last 4 to 5 years, Joe Biden had nothing to do with that. In fact, Merrick Garland had nothing to do with that. No Biden appointed U.S. attorneys went after Trump and his allies. Merrick Garland didn't go after Trump and his allies. A special counsel did. A special independent counsel did. And by the way, it's not just the U.S. attorney that Trump fired who looked into this Comey thing and said there's nothing there. The Justice Department's Inspector General 2 years ago looked into what Comey might have done and said there's nothing there. Joe Biden, for all of his flaws and faults, like every president before him, generally respected that wall, that independence. Because you can't be in a place where prosecutions are political, where prosecutions are determined by what a president demands. I mean, that's a fatal stabbing of the very concept of equal justice before the law. Like if you're an opponent of Trump's, man, you're screwed. If you're on Team Trump, you're fine, even if you committed a crime. That goes at the very heart of the rule of law in this country. What Trump is doing right now is unprecedented again. Blowing down that wall of independence, taking over the Justice Department. It should be enough, right? You talk about attacking the integrity and the independence of the Justice Department. Every damn prosecutor at the Justice Department ought to resign like today, threaten to resign like today. Any prosecutor who disagrees with the president has either been fired or has resigned. I guess what I'm trying to say is, as much as Trump refusing to accept the result of an election and then trying to overthrow that election is an unprecedented attack on our democracy, what Trump is doing right now is an unprecedented attack on the rule of law. Publicly demanding and forcing the Justice Department, your and my Justice Department, to go after his political opponents. It's a gross abuse of power. It's an impeachable offense. It is, again, a direct attack on the very concept of equal justice before the law. It is an attack on the integrity and the independence of the Justice Department. It's the stuff of banana republics, right? It's the stuff of fascists and dictators, right? You become the leader of a country and you basically use your government to jail and kill your political opponents. That's where we are, right? Those of us who scream fascism, and J.D. Vance and everybody else trying to silence those of us who scream fascism. This is fascism. Right here again, right here. What's to stop in a month or two Trump from killing his political opponents? Trump from ordering his government to kill his political opponents? I'm asking you. I'm asking you. Is that crazy? Is that far-fetched? Bullshit. He's forcing the Justice Department right now to put his political opponents in jail. You telling me 2-3 months from now he won't demand the government kill his political opponents? Seriously? The guy who tried to overthrow an American election? The guy who, we're not paying attention to this because we're all so distracted by all of this. Every day right now, and I've got a long piece in my Substack about this, Donald Trump is systematically right now plotting out and developing his attack to fuck with the 2026 elections. That's going on right now. The 2026 and the 2028 elections, that's going on right now. So you're telling me the guy who tried to overthrow an American election, the guy who's going to fuck with the 2026 and the 2028 election, the guy who is forcing the Justice Department to put his political opponents in jail, you're telling me that guy wouldn't force the government to kill his political opponents? I end here. Not one Republican has said a thing. Not one Republican has said a thing since Comey was indicted. Not one Republican has said anything about Trump publicly forcing the Justice Department to prosecute his political opponents. Not one Republican. You're not going to get any help from the Republican Party. The Democratic Party can't do anything but yell and scream. The Justice Department right now, until every prosecutor at the Justice Department leaves, resigns in protest, I'll say it again, the Justice Department right now is no longer ours. The Justice Department is Donald Trump's personal law firm. We do not have a Justice Department anymore. Not right now. Just like you've heard me say for months now, we don't have a Congress. We do not have an independent legislative branch. We no longer have a Justice Department. So no help from any of them, It's on you and it's on me to care. That's it. I'll end there. I got nothing left in me. I'll end there. Either we eventually wake up, we, meaning the American people, wake up and say, fuck it, I care about this. Fuck it, this is wrong. I care about this. I care about the price of groceries, and I care about the fact that my brother just got laid off. But damn it, democracy and the rule of law disappearing, democracy disappearing and the rule of law dying. You know what? I'm going to put my country first, right? I'm going to put my country first. And if groceries are too damn expensive right now, damn it, this is more important. Either the American people get to that place where this is more important, hanging on to our democracy and hanging on to the rule of law is either more important than our own self-interest or not. And until that day, what Trump will continue to do will get worse. Until that day. And I don't know if that day's coming. I mean it. I'm not going to bullshit you. I don't know if the American people will ever care enough. I mean, my God, we're only 5 years removed from an American president trying to overthrow an American election. And damn it, the American people put him back in the fucking White House. So I can't tell you right now the American people are going to care. The American people are going to put their partisan interest on the fucking shelf and put their economic self-interest on the shelf and put their country first. I can't tell you the American people are going to get to that place. I hope they do. I can't tell you they will for certain. I don't know. Maybe if Trump calls off the 2026 elections, the American people will finally fucking wake up. Maybe if Trump puts the military in Democratic precincts in blue cities all over the country for the midterm elections, thereby fucking with the Democratic vote, maybe that will wake up the American people. I don't know. Maybe if Trump refuses to leave the White House after the 2028 election, that will wake up the American people. I don't know. But democracy and the rule of law, under dire threat right now, will not survive unless the American people care enough to demand that they survive. I'm done, Keith. I'm sorry I went too long. 2 quick points, everybody, this Friday, and I wish you all a great weekend. Um, there's a Substack page I've been promoting. It's called The Big Middle. Check them out. thebigmiddle.substack.com. It's new. They're launching. They're just trying to get off the ground. Help them, join them, subscribe to thebigmiddle.substack.com. It's all about bringing Americans together who disagree on certain issues like guns or whatever, and trying to find consensus on those issues. Be a part of it. It's the ultimate solution if we decide as a people to keep our democracy and the rule of law. This is where we got to get back to. It's called thebigmiddle.substack.com. As always, everything I do, say, write, feel is on my Substack page. If you want to keep this voice out there, because I don't have like a big old media company and a big old corporation behind me. It's just little old me and a great loyal team of folks. People ask me all the time, Joe, love what you say, man. I worry about you. Love what you say. How can I help? How can I help? The best way to help is to become a paid subscriber to my Substack page. The single best way to help, and to get others to join. Get others to become paid subscribers to Social Contract with JoeWalsh.substack.com if you find value in what I say. Final thought, you want to fire away at me about anything, send me an email. The Social Contract with JoeWalsh@gmail.com. That's all one word. The Social Contract with JoeWalsh@gmail.com. I wish you all a wonderful, blessed weekend. Be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.